I'm Fred Wilkinson, Chief Editor of the National Provisioner. Today I'm speaking with Rob Ames and Garrett McCoy, both of Corbion, and we're going to be speaking about clean label strategies. Thank you both for joining me today. To get things started, what are some emerging trends in crafting clean label meat products?
Well, Fred, thank you for the opportunity to visit. For us, clean label and our customers has become so normative. And so the challenges that they're facing are the challenges of the industry at large. We're seeing economic pressure like we haven't seen in quite some time, and that's driving formulation change. So really, the only thing different here is that they're doing so within a clean label context. Unfortunately, the category and the technology has evolved so far that we're able to do most of the things, if not everything we can do in a conventional label, in a clean label. So Garrett and I were speaking just yesterday about this, and he sees some different functionality needs that are unique to that, economizing the formulation that are really accentuating more specific focus on certain clean label technology.
Yeah, and so a lot of what Rob mentioned, some of the additional challenges where we look at adjusting some of the formulas here just due to economic pressure and really cost reduction. What can we do to extend the shelf life in some of these formulas that may have a higher moisture content, may have a higher water activity, and of course we're still chasing that extended shelf life with all of our products. So what can we do from a clean label preservation perspective to allow for food safety still and allow for that extension of shelf life that is needed for some of these highly extended formulas.
Okay. And how do formulation strategies on the ingredient side, how do they mesh with other interventions such as high pressure processing, which some meat products are now using as a food safety intervention?
Yeah, so when we look at the use of a process such as HPP, provides great food safety, also allows for excellent shelf life extension. We do have some limitations within the process itself. Namely, one of those limitations would be once the package is open, really we have no further protection in the formula. So what we can look at is a combination of both process and ingredient, such as a clean label or natural antimicrobial ingredient that will still provide extended food safety, extended shelf life once the package is open, and explore some either synergistic effect or just simply an additive effect of both process plus ingredient.
I would add to that, Fred, just in a general sense, intervention and the ingredients really go hand in glove, and they're complementary to one another. So an example of that, we've done recent projects with intervention followed by ingredient technology where we're able to provide a pretty substantial shelf life extension in fresh meat and also deliver that kill step that's important for microbial separation of lots and creating firewalls between different products. So what Garrett just mentioned about HPP, we actually had an HPP company start working with us voluntarily to say, hey, we know your technology actually takes pressure off of, not to use a pun there, but takes pressure off our equipment, makes it last longer, work better for customers because of the synergies that exist. So one would think that they're competitors, and in some ways they perhaps are, but more often than not, we see kind of an opening of ideas around the use of two different technologies together to try to get the ultimate goal of safety and shelf life extension achieved.
For processors looking to roll out new clean label meat products, what are some key considerations?
Well, I think there's a tendency to think clean label equals vinegar and vinegar equals Listeria control. And as a vinegar manufacturer, we somewhat love that, right? We're happy to take that opportunity forward with our Listeria control model and work with customers in that vein. But then when you zoom out and say, well, where's the total value of creating this product with respect to its antimicrobial system and also the functionality that comes from the choice of ingredients? It's a much more complex picture, and it's a much more opportunistic situation where product attributes can be improved and shelf life can be extended in ways that a single solution really can't solve for. And so, Garrett, we were talking again about texture and yield as an example of that.
And so what we can look at from that side of things is not only the food safety side, as Rob mentioned, hey, we think listeria control in vinegar, and that's very, very important. But with the replacement or transition from some of our conventional type antimicrobials to clean label, what are we missing with that transition from, say, a lactate diacetate blend into simply a buffered vinegar? Is it additional shelf life, additional spoilage control that we need, or some of those secondary benefits we get from some of these other organic acids, such as texture improvement, water holding capacity, and ultimately an improvement to cook yield and finished product?
Are there certain types of meat products that pose unique challenges when formulating a clean label product?
Yeah, so the first one that comes to mind is almost always going to be fresh poultry and uncured poultry. So a lot of those challenges are going to be driven really by the intrinsic properties of our raw materials. So as we compare poultry, whether that be ready to eat or fresh product, as we compare that back to red meat, we're typically going to see a pH value that is greater than what we see in red meat. That creates some challenges in controlling spoilage microorganisms as well as pathogens such as Listeria monocytogenes in ready-to-eat products. And then that necessitates a different use of antimicrobial or intervention steps. And then as we start looking at some of the additional market trends where we do see the combination or the addition of flavor systems, particularly those flavor systems that are going to be very high in sugar content, that creates some unique challenges, because now with the increase in the carbohydrate content delivered by, say, sugar or any other kind of sweetener, we're then creating or adding additional nutrients for microorganisms. So we have to find ways to combat that without impacting the finished product quality, namely the flavor profile of the finished product.
And Fred, a footnote to that conversation needs to be around fats and rancidity risk. So as you get into these softer fats, namely again from poultry, you run into conditions where your product might fail the consumer on a taste profile long before it fails the consumer in a microbial way.
What regulatory developments are impacting the clean label meats category?
So the way we organize our business is really a North American view for this region. And so both in Canada and the US, I'm seeing a lot more scrutiny paid towards the functionality that's embedded within clean label. So we've always used food on food with food to create preservation. And so I don't think anybody sees that going away. But certainly as it comes around to sources of nitrite, sources of stabilization that are plant-based or naturally derived, there's rumblings from regulators, in fact, actions or taken that address regulations on the book or in the future that will separate those functional ingredients and regulate them differently than as if they were flavor ingredients. So that's one of a few trends out there that we're paying attention to.
Well, thank you both very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
It's been our pleasure. I think in closing, I would just add that companies like Corbion offer modeling tools and portfolios that are quite well developed and a lot of experience to go with that. So as customers and processors are looking at this space and what they can do differently, it's just good to ask questions, have conversations. There's a number of things we can do with formulations that don't necessarily come at us initially in a project brief, because the customers rightfully so are focused on food safety, and that is the start point. But we've got some pretty creative people. Garrett's certainly one of them. And leads a team that can do a lot of hands-on work back in our lab and create some fun products.